as far the heck would he go?
He should still be mic'd up.
Oh yeah, he should be. Yep, you should. Everything's hooked up, but just not the HDMI. So
Okay, it's
we're still
showing up.
we still have it. Everybody can see up there. They just can't see his screen. Except
Everybody see my password? All right. Actually, Kevin, I lied to you earlier. I said I wasn't going to do Lightroom, but the first part of it is a little bit of Lightroom.
Oh.
So
You hate liars. Shut it down. Come on.
I'm out.
I can't find the.
There are no degrees of sin.
I can't find the thing to do it in show mode. I don't have my. I didn't bring my glasses.
Yeah.
There it is.
There. No, that didn't. Oh, here we go. That's not really what I wanted.
This is great for us.
Oh, okay, that'll work. That'll work. Okay, so I'm going to do 2 slides here, then I'm going to switch over to Lightroom and then go to Sequator, which is the meat of it. So the idea is starting astrophotography on a budget. I came into this club 2 years ago, and it's like, okay, I do a lot of photography. I want to do some astrophotography, and people say, okay, you got to use PixInsight. It's really hard to learn. It's expensive, and you got to get all this other stuff. And there's been kind of this impression given that you have to spend a lot of money to do astrophotography.
Well, I think that's true.
And I don't think it's true. I did a Milky Way workshop. That's where I learned Sequator, and I've got some Milky Way shots I'm going to show. And this is stuff you can do with deep sky objects as well. So why astrophotography on a budget? PixInsight is basically $355 for it's commercial license only. They don't have a private license. Sequator is free. You could add Adobe Photographer, which is the Lightroom and Photoshop subscription for $10 a month. You want something to process your photos, and there are other photo processing, post-processing, I should say, software out there. Some of them are free. Some of them have a free option with a pro model that's a minor cost. The point is that the most expensive thing I've found in the processing end is the Sequator, and this is a PixInsight, and this is a option to get away from that. So I am going to start with Lightroom. This is what I use. I do a lot of photography. Astrophotography is one of them. So I have Lightroom. That's what I use. So the first thing you want to do is you want to take the images you've got. First, you have to create darks. Is there anyone that doesn't know what darks are? Okay. When you're doing astrophotography, whatever your sensor is, I'm using a Nikon Z8. You can use a dedicated CCD sensor telescope, but there's noise in it. It makes that grainy color you get in a photo. That's called noise, and each sensor has a fingerprint of the noise it makes. So and it changes with temperature and time. So when you're taking your images, you want to put the lens cap on and take some pictures of just pure black. Those are darks. And you use those as a baseline for Sequator to filter out the noise in the pictures you took. That's what PixInsight and Sequator is all about. So I have here some darks, and that's exactly what they are.
They're not very impressive.
No, they're not.
You want those to be as boring as possible.
That's right. They should be boring. And then you also want your star images. Now, I took these down in Big Bend, Texas, and it's going to pop
Pretty
up.
dark sky down there.
Yeah, very dark. It's one of the darkest places in the country. Actually, I'm going to bring them in this way. Wow, I didn't realize how difficult this would be. I'm going to. The first thing you have to do with your raw images is you have to put them in a TIFF format for Sequator to use them. So that's really why I'm using Lightroom right now. You can do other stuff later after you've stacked them. That's what you want to do. The whole point of this is filter out the noise and stack. So you take 10-second images and you end up with 100 seconds worth of exposure time. But you don't have to have a drive to do that. if you're doing 10-second images.
Mhm.
You follow the rule of 500 with the length of your lens. So I have my stars here. I think they're there. And I'm going to import them into Lightroom. This is pretty easy. It's pretty straightforward if you've used Lightroom. And then you want to go into develop mode. This is in the instructions here. This is just some quick touch up you want to do before you convert it to a TIFF. Suggestion is select the first image, take your masking. Wow, I had no idea how hard this was going to be.
That's
Right?
your first image?
That,
Just one
that
image?
is my first
It's
image.
not
Yes.
stacked or anything.
No, it's not. These are all.
Pretty good.
These are raw images. That's what it looked like. Big. That was actually out in the backyard of the resort we were staying at. We went out further for some other pictures, from landscape pictures. I can't. Oh my god! I should have brought my glasses. I'm sorry.
You can borrow mine if you want, but I don't think it'll work.
Okay, masking here. Sharpening. For sharpening, you want to mask in the 90s. I'm just going to put 95. This is just a way to make the image a little more ready. Vibrance is 10. Exposure plus 0.1 to plus 0.3.
Now,
That's
how
not.
do you determine these values here?
These were recommended values from the class I took.
Okay.
So I'm going to go 0.2.
Are you doing that for each photo or just?
I'm doing it for the first photo. That's a good question. I'm doing it for the first photo, but I'm going to use a synchronized mode in Lightroom to do it to all of them. And then you want to go to the color mixture. And this is something that came up in the fact we're doing this in Big Bend. Big Bend has a yellow air glow. I'm not sure why. Most of you that have dealt with air glow usually see a green air glow. And you don't want that in your star pictures. So you want to try and get some of the air glow out before, be an HSO, before you do the stacking, before you even convert it to TIFFs. I don't know why I just did that. And what you want to do, you want to adjust the yellow. You want to bring it down a little bit. You can see that doesn't have that yellowish tinge as much now. And you probably want to bring the green down even on this one a little bit, because even though the air glow there is very yellow, there's still some green. So that's quick and dirty on this part. Now if I can get to...
How do you determine that air glow?
How do you determine it?
Yeah.
I just kind of look at it and see move the slider. Again, I'm using Lightroom, but move the yellow slider and see if you can get that extra
So
background yellowness out of it.
there's somewhere that you found out that Big Bend had the yellow?
Yeah, the class I was in.
Okay.
I did a workshop in Big Bend,
Okay.
and he said, "Hey, everybody, the air glow here is yellow. So normally you would adjust the green, but here you want to adjust the yellow and maybe a little green, which is what I found worked for me." Then the next thing you want to do is go down to the bottom, hold down your shift key, and select everything, and that means you now have a option here called sync. You want everything selected except denoise. Synchronize. That's done. And then, I should have said earlier, you want to have a TIFF folder to put these in. So you're going to go to File Export, File Settings, TIFF, Compression None, sRGB IEC, or Adobe RGB, whichever you prefer. It's kind of a personal preference. I like the sRGB and it was recommended. Bit depth should be 16. You want to make sure that, let's see, where are we? You want to make sure you're in TIFF mode. You want to make sure that the image resizing is unchecked. Resolution 300. Here we go. Image sizing, resizing is unchecked. Resolution 300 DPI. Output sharpening, no. Metadata, include all. Obviously, you don't want a watermark. And then post-processing, do nothing. Let me get here. There, do nothing. And now one important thing is where do you put it? So I'm going to put it in the TIFFs folder and export. And notice I'm doing them all at once. It saves a lot of time. So I'm going to wait for the slider up here to finish, and then I'm going to close Lightroom, and I'm not going to mess with it.
Did you do your original photography in RAW format?
Yes, these were Nikon Z8 NEFs.
Does Sequoia not take raw images?
Takes TIFFs or FITs. I believe it takes FITs. I'm not sure about that. So I'm waiting for it to load. Okay. Now with that done, I'm going to close Lightroom. You can do post-processing on the stacked photo when you're done. I'm not going to get into that. People use different things other than Lightroom. And the key here is to show you a fairly easy and cheap way to stack and denoise your astro photos. So opening up Sequator. Sequator is actually very easy to use. You want to go to Star Images up here and double click.
I have a question.
Yes.
Pointer, also for Apple or iOS.
I think they do have an Apple version, yes. I'm pretty sure they do. So my TIFFs are here. So there they are. There's all the TIFFs we just made. And I'm going to select them all and hit open. There they are. And also notice their base image was picked. Sequator picks your base image automatically from what you just put in to Star Images. Then you need your noise images, which is another way of saying darks. So I go into my dark TIFFs. Again, you want TIFF to TIFF. I think I had something like 15 or 17 Star Images, and I had 5 TIFFs, five darks. Now you want an output location, obviously, which I'm going to put it in a folder that I called Stacked. You can see I've done this once before. Actually, I've done this several times. Oh, I gotta give it a name. I went through this script several times, so I kept importing stuff and then deleting it. And then down here in the second section, you want to go to composition. You want right here, sky region on. And you want everything else off in here under the composition. Where is it? Under composition, you want align stars, where it was trails, so you want to align stars, and what's the next one? Freeze ground, that's right. God, I'm having so much trouble. Freeze ground. So you want to align the stars because you want, that's the whole point of stacking them. You want to freeze the ground because you don't really care about the ground. What I did with these was I made a sky image and then I took it in Photoshop and I put it over a foreground image that we took during the day. We got up during the day and went and did some landscape photos. We did some pano too, so they showed us how to stitch the whole Milky Way. This is just the core. So this is just my sky image. I don't care about the ground. I'm not going to keep it. Then you go down to sky region. And you want an irregular mask and aux highlight. Now, you see this circle I've got here? I'm going to tell Sequator what I want it to align and stack. So again, I'm not really doing anything with the ground, and I don't even care about the stars that are real close to the ground. So I'm being a little sloppy with it. That's why I got a big circle. And hit start.
Now we wait.
And it really doesn't take long.
While that's processing, would you say a little bit about the image acquisition? So you said
10 seconds exposure per picture.
Well, that was an
How do you-
example. These, I can go back to Lightroom and tell you what they were.
I was just wondering how you get there, because I mean your camera will be different from mine in terms of light sensitivity. You chose a different ISO setting. I mean, how do you arrive at, yeah, this is about what you should be selecting?
Well, there's some ground rules that you use for. Okay, it's done.
Well, or you can hold it to later. It's just a question.
Well,
In my
this
mind.
is done, and what I can do is go back into Lightroom, and I'll tell you exactly what I had on my.
You do a little math. This,
Yeah.
you can take a picture at a certain amount of zoom, and the more zoomed in you are, the less time you can expose the picture before the stars move in the picture.
Before you get trails.
And so if you're really wide like he is, you can shoot, 15, 16 seconds. But if you're really, really zoomed in, you may only get 2 or 3 seconds. And so when you're doing like the longer stuff
There.
that makes these pictures on the wall, you get to have something that points at it and keeps the camera moving with the stars,
Right.
so that you can take longer than 10 or 12 seconds. So you basically take a picture, you go zoom in, those stars don't look like lines.
Mhm.
I've taken the right amount, or take less or more, keep pushing it up until they start to be lines, and then back it back just a little bit.
That helps.
And then you also have how much ISO do you want? How much noise are you going to allow to be in your picture versus how long you can take the picture? So like if you're shooting, some of the new modern cameras will do 30, 40,000 ISO and
64,000.
almost have no,
Actually, 128 on the
yeah,
Z8.
almost have no noise at that level.
That's incredible.
That's
And some of the older ones, 3200,
1600 was wide.
Yeah.
You have to then deal with. And the darts that he's talking about is how you get that noise back out. So you put the lens cap on, you take the picture at the same exposure time and the same ISO, and it gives you that noise as a file that you can then use to extract from the photo in his post-processing.
Listen,
Do
what
either-
you said,
Jim,
that tells
do you
me my
remember
cameras are
exactly
getting
the,
older.
the rule of 500?
No,
Okay.
You guys worked with it.
I used
I can
to.
look it up for you.
Yeah. So there's a couple things. First of all, the ISO is going to, for this kind of photo, is going to depend on your camera. If you want to do the deep sky objects, which you can still use Sequator for, but you need a drive system. You can't do that with a bunch of 10-second exposures. I'm using a 16 millimeter lens, so it's a wide angle lens. And at that point, I found I fiddled with it a little bit, because I came up with I can go to 15 seconds. And I tried a 15-second image, and I took my lope and zoomed in on the image on my camera, and I could see a little oblongness to the stars. So it's like, okay, 15's too long, and I backed off. And what I settled on with this lens is 12 seconds. You can see my ISO is 8,000. The Z8 is really good at low noise. There's a gap. It's got 2 sensors. It's got a low light sensor and a highlight sensor. And right around 2000, plus or minus 400 or 600, you will get noise out your ears if you try and do a dark picture at 2000 ISO. Whereas you can go up to 4000 ISO or 8000 and you don't have much noise. And you go down to 1000 ISO, you don't have much noise. It's between those, because what's happening is it's high light sensor, the sensor that works in brighter conditions, is struggling to try and make do with what you set it at 2000. So I've read this online. So that's a Z8 thing. And the other piece is that there's the rule of 500s. You can look it up on the internet, and basically you take the length of your lens, 16 millimeter, and you do the math, and it'll tell you can go up to this long without getting star trails. And it's a rule. It's a rule of thumb. Okay.
All right, thank you both.
All right. Now, let's go back here. So we've gone through that. I went in using the brush and worked on the core of the galaxy. I used the brush to highlight the core of the galaxy. That way I could reduce the other stars and everything around it and pop out the galaxy itself. And okay, how do we get to this picture? There we go. Nope, that's not the one. That is the stacked image that I've also tweaked in Lightroom. You can do it in Luminar. There's other software you can use. So that image you can take and turn and put in Photoshop or in something where you can stack it with a foreground image, and you could get like show it over the Chistos Mountains, which is that's a mountain range in Big Bend, which is what we did there. We also went to an old ruin that's in Big Bend, and that's a daylight picture I took.
That's pretty cool.
Wow.
And you can go to PhotoPills, which is what we use, and go into the AR mode, and you can actually look at it and say, okay, it's broad daylight. I don't know where the Milky Way is, but I want to know where it's going to be at 3 o'clock tonight, 3 a.m. And it'll show the Milky Way is like this, or it's over here. You can see that. So when you create the image, you can make something that's real, but it's not a single image. So we got this. That's St. Helena's Canyon in Big Bend. That's the Rio Grande there, and you're looking into Mexico. And something you will never see in real life.
No.
Obviously, the sky there is too bright for that, but I took that core picture and
The Walnut Street Bridge.
yeah, and the aquarium. So that's kind of things you can do with Milky Way. You can use the same process for deep sky objects, but you're probably going to need a drive to do that. The point is, you don't have to buy the expensive and hard to learn PixInsight. We will make these directions available online, so you can see.
I'll put them on Groups.io unless you want to put them. Are you in
I can,
on there?
yeah, I'm in Groups.io. I guess.
And Discord, because if not, we can also make it available.
I think
there
I'm on
too.
Discord. Yeah.
If
If not, I'll get on it.
Okay.
Any questions? Any more questions?
Yeah, no, I've heard of it. I've never even actually opened. I downloaded it once, and I've never opened it.
It works pretty good. The hardest part I had was stitching the pano when we did a panorama of the Milky Way in Photoshop without getting seams. That was the hardest thing we did in that workshop, and it didn't work that well. Yeah, slide 9 of 9. So that's it. Thanks.
Yeah, I think that was great questions. Everybody?